So the finals has been out for a little over 8 months now, and despite it being one of the most unique FPS games we've seen in a long time, it somehow failed to keep players playing. I just recently hopped back on the game after dropping it for a few months, and I was reminded just how fun it is despite the low player count. You see, this game never failed in like a gameplay aspect, at least for me. It's very arcadey and fast paced. It has great movement. It has weapons that are weighty and balanced. But then the bigger issues I had with the game was its competitive system was just so bad it was unreal. That being said, they have made changes to how it works as you can see on the screen. But I differ from the majority of the player base because the biggest issues I see talked about are these two things in no particular order really. Content, balance changes, and a lack of updates. Of course there's other smaller things, but I think that's the three key things that upset the community. Now before I get into those issues and possible fixes, I highly recommend that you give the finals intel on Twitter a follow because that's where I basically caught up with the game after all this time away. But anyways, in terms of content, let's talk about the weapons, then the gadgets that they've added. Now there are a total of 27 weapons at the time of this recording. That's excluding any gadget weapons. That's 11 light weapons and 8 medium and heavy weapons each. To put that into perspective, these are the only post-launch weapons through 3 seasons, 2 for each class type. I haven't played with all of them yet. I've played with mainly the light ones. I'm still trying out the FAMAS and the blades, and I haven't even touched the heavies yet. But so far, I think what Embark has added generally fits a niche or a playstyle rather than being meta, I guess. Like, the meta weapons at launch are pretty much still the meta weapons today, like the FCAR, the XP54, the V9S to a lesser degree. For heavy, maybe like the flamethrower and the heavier LMG. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this is more than enough for me. I don't think that there needs to be like 100 plus weapons like in every FPS. There just needs to be 100 plus weapons. Some games can have like 25 to 30 weapons because that just fits the game style. And generally you can find a weapon that'll suit your playstyle or suit the playstyle you're trying to go for in this game. So my bigger complaint is that they're just not really balanced that well. I still think that pretty much if you're not using like the meta weapons or the best weapons, that you're just being outclassed. Like, it's not fun to just sit there and play with the same 5 to 6 weapons on rotation. So I played with the, particularly like as an example, I played with the 93R, the pistol for the light class. It's atrocious. I played with it on my first game when I played Terrorist Attack, and I guess I would say I did okay success with it, but it was obviously lacking compared to the other options in the class, and they've made a couple of changes to it. I'm going to put them on screen right now, and over time I guess it has slightly gotten better, but it's just outclassed by every other gun in its category. So you had to be purposely playing at a disadvantage to feel like you're having a different experience or having fun. My personal favorite is the recurve belt and dual blades. I just love high risk, high reward weapons because it's, again, rewarding when you do well with them and you're on point with them. But there's also other weapons like the R357 that I think have just been overshadowed since launch, and just because it kicks to the moon. But look at this clip and tell me you wouldn't find this absolutely fun to play with. I love using this thing, especially when I'm bored. Now onto the gadgets. I think they're just okay, the new ones that have been added. My favorite is the anti-gravity cube, just because the plays you can make with it is so dynamic and it's so fun, especially as a light player. It's just about balancing these things, right? Because you have 41 total gadgets in the game, and to balance all of them so that nothing feels cheesy or overpowered is extremely difficult to do. And of course, some things are just going to be more preferred over others. Like if you're a light, you're going to want to usually pick like a glitch thing, or maybe you want to pick the stun gun. Stun gun's obviously really good if you want to take a more direct approach, or like with medium players, right? At least when I was playing around the start of the year, the only thing people loved to use was those gas mines, or they would combine their Guardia turret with their AP turret, and then the heavies would have their bubbles, and it was just so annoying to play. But yeah, enough rambling about that. On to the next point, which is balance changes, which I've kind of already got into, and now that I'm thinking about it, it may actually be the number one biggest offense with the community, because every time I go on Reddit or I go on any thread, the balance changes is the number one thing talked about that people aren't happy with. And I got a couple articles here to show you exactly what I mean. The first comes from videogamer.com, and the article says, worst thing to happen, the finals fans agree huge season 3 nerfs have ruined the game. And the second one comes from ng4.com. It says the finals players crushed as the update 3.8 didn't address their biggest issues. Alright, getting into this first article, I was surprised to learn just how many changes Ranked has gone through since the start of the game, because whenever I played, the meta was pick 2 medium players and a heavy, maybe 2 heavies and a medium if you're playing Monaco or something. But generally, you wouldn't want to pick a light player in ranked. Maybe if you just perfected the light technique and you had 2 really good players on your team, but you really wanted to stay away from light because any coordinated team could zap you and just take you out of the game, so it wasn't worth the risk. But as it says right here in the article, the biggest problem with the final season 3 was terminal attack becoming ranked and replacement of cash out. However, while this was the biggest complaint at the start, the straw that broke the camel's back in the eyes of many is the current meta with matches heavily dominated by players picking light. Now I gotta be honest with you, I'm completely lost right here, because whenever I've played about a 50-50 split of ranked and unranked, but whatever you played, cash out seemed like the most random mode you can ever play. I've watched multiple videos on this, but the Cliff Notes version is basically it's dependent on luck unless there's one extremely good team that just dominates the lobby, and then the other teams in the match have to fight over one cash out, and it's just a complete bloodbath for that one cash out, while the other team is on the other side of the map just kicking up their feet. They get a free cash out, and sometimes their cash out ends quicker, and they can come in and fourth party and grab the cash out and further extend their lead, and then they can really just play keep away if they want to, or they could just sit back and watch the other teams just really dog it out to see who's going to get that second place spot. So it was just really scuffed. Besides that, say that all teams were kind of evenly matched, it was just third party warfare. So whichever team got the best at third partying was a team that usually came out on top. You know, waiting, I guess, 30 seconds until the cash out is about to end. You know, perfecting the third party is sort of a skill in a way, but it doesn't show off the true skill of being able to hold cash outs, which was nearly impossible. And in my eyes, at least in the upper ranks, it was so unfun to play because it just seemed like a randomized generator for which team was going to advance. So seeing that people are disappointed about cash out being replaced with a different mode is kind of confusing to me. Again, I've been away for a little bit. I'm not sure. Maybe they've made cash out a more viable competitive mode. But I just don't think that the finals caters towards a competitive environment. A lot of people think that it is competitive, but in my eyes, it's more so just a very arcadey, destructive, like sandbox that everyone can just have fun in. And I don't think that it really works that well for competitive. So trying out any mode, I think, like terminal attack or maybe even power shift, because I don't think it can really hurt. But again, I haven't been in a while. Maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Let me know in the comments. Now, if you go to the related Reddit post, it says the worst season yet. The light meta is the worst thing to happen to this game. It wouldn't be so bad if they didn't nerf mediums and heavies. If you're going to buff light so hard, why would you nerf the other 2 classes? Keep them how they are. It's like you're forced to run light to have fun or struggle trying to swap mosquitoes the whole match. Honestly, I kind of agree with them. And that's what I switched to light for, is because light is just, even though you have the least health and you have to play very, I guess, ratty, it's the most fun to use. And also, you can just annoy the hell out of players. I know me, who was a medium player for the first, I guess, 3 or 4 months of the game. It was super annoying playing against, cloaks, lights, or even the dash lights. They were just super annoying to play with. And I just decided to switch to light myself, and then I just haven't switched back. So I can definitely get that frustration if all they've done is buffed light and nerfed heavy and mediums, which, to be honest, heavy or mediums, when they're like recons, I think they've been taken out of the game if I've seen that correctly. But besides that, they're generally pretty good balanced. So there doesn't really seem to be a reason why they should have buffed one and then nerfed the other two. Now you have an imbalance there as well. You're just causing greater disturbances in the balance, and I'm not sure why they did it. But anyways, as we continue further on into the article, it says right here, away from terminal attack, many fans are also not happy with the lack of community events and no new game modes. In Season 2, we had an Easter celebration along the introduction of terminal attack, and there were also a boatload of community events with rewards on offer. Unfortunately, there's only been one community event for Season 3, and most updates have been bare bone. This is largely because many at Embark were on deserved vacation during July. Now, for anyone who's followed Payday 3, like the main game I've covered, or who's in the Payday 3 community, you know what it's like to have a dev team basically go on vacation for the month and the game to not be in the best state. It's understandable because people have lives. They need to go on vacation. I'm not asking people to be in the office 24/7. That's ridiculous. But it comes with the timing, I guess, in the preparation for those vacations and that time away. This really hurts the I guess what the community feels like the game state, because let's say you do prepare in time and you have all this additional content lined up. What you can do is have them maybe, I don't know how game development works, I'm not going to pretend, but let's just say you have them pre-scheduled to update at a certain time and to be added in throughout the month, so that players don't feel like there's a drought period that's obviously there because no one's working on the game. And I just feel like live service FPS games especially, you want to avoid at all costs players feeling burnt out. That's the last thing you want. You want players to play consistently and for a long time, and any extended lull periods or downtime will really tear players out of that experience and will shrink in the player base. Now for the second article, and this one seems to focus more on players' frustration with the lack of content rather than balance changes. As it says right here, over the last couple of weeks, many players reported that the lack of new content was infuriating. They were hoping they'd get something new in this week's update, or at the very least, some fixes. Unfortunately, the finals devs issued update 3.8, which didn't address any of the players' concerns. And as we scroll further down, it says, update 3.8 of the finals features some great improvements. On August 7th, Oscar, the community lead at Embark, took to Discord to share the details of update 3.8. They said update 3.8 is now live on all platforms, and with it we unlocked the finals button and world tour, and with that comes emerald progression for all our contestants who have reached gold 1. Here you'll be able to continue your badge progression past gold and into emerald, with unique rewards unlocking for each tier you achieve. The community lead added, in the finals you only earn win points for winning an entire world tournament. So this truly is a challenge for our most seasoned contestants to show off their dedication. After community feedback and reviewing data, we also re-added the team-wide penalty to the World Tour at 10%, down from the original 30% we had before update 3.6. Scroll further down. It says, this update also boasts a fully stocked store, a brand new XP bonus feature, and several big bug fixes. For example, there are no more unclimbable stairs on Tokyo. Also, they tweaked respawn points to be more evenly spread across the entire Tokyo map. But as the article points out, it says some players have bigger concerns. It says right here, well, the finals players love that update 3.8 addressed the concerns surrounding the unclimbable stairs, but there were many other problems that weren't even mentioned. probably the biggest issue was that devs didn't balance any of the weapons. Now, I guess I gotta get my feet wet a little more before I can fully comment on this, but as one user says right here named Environmental Alps 332, so no weapon balance again this week, feels like we're gonna be stuck TK spam all season. Another user named Server of the Altar added, yeah, this is the last straw for me. This game is straight up not fun in its current state. Not like it used to be. Oh well, back to Halo. I'm not sure what going back to Halo is going to do. I'm going to be honest with you. I've played Halo Infinite. That's just as bad over there, but I digress. Now, everything I just went over, I'm sure is very familiar with anyone who's played any live service game ever. It doesn't matter what it is, co-op, PvE, or if it's FPS. It doesn't matter because I would say, like, I'm gonna try to name 5 or 6 things I think that live service games should get right on the start and should continue to get right as this continue to be updated. I would say one maybe is content. I would say content is probably number one. Number two, I would say is the updates. You know, getting a good update cadence. Three is probably performance. Even though it should be number one, people can deal with mediocre performance as long as those number two things are pretty good. Fourth is communication. Fifth, I would say, is probably monetization, I guess. And then sixth is cheaters. What else? I don't know. I can't really think of anything else. That's like off the top of my head. Those are like 6 things. That, I mean, really any game. It doesn't even have to be just live service games, but mainly for live service games, you want to get those right at the beginning, and you want it to be executed perfectly pretty much throughout the lifespan of the game, because anytime you get those things, any of those things wrong, any aspect of it can completely destroy the game in its community. And I just feel very disappointed that Embark has sort of let this slip and let it cause a decrease in the game's popularity. Also, for anyone who's going to ask why 5th and 6th is monetization and cheaters, look at Call of Duty. Just look at Call of Duty and tell me how much it actually matters. Call of Duty is still one of the top selling games, if not the top selling game every year. And its monetization is so fucking scummy. And it's probably one of the most cheater infested games of all time. So I say it's still very important, because you can't just have a game run rampant with all of them and expect to have the same success as Call of Duty. But if we're being honest, players just deal with it at the end of the day, so I'm not even going to pretend like it's one of the most important ones, really. But yeah, like I said, I'm actually really disappointed this game didn't pan out to succeed long term, because it's one of the most original takes on the FPS genre. It's just been bloated with slop and, you know, a bunch of clones to Call of Duty over the past 5 or 6 years, and this seemed to have a really strong community and audience around it for the first part of the year. And then as they made mistakes, you know, they didn't update the game quite enough. They've made balanced mistakes, and their competitive mode was just a mess. And it just was a recipe to not succeed long term, and that's really disappointing to me. And I hope the upcoming Delta Force Hawk Ops can avoid this, because it looks promising so far to like I guess a Battlefield substitute. So I hope they get everything right. Hope they nail everything down so that we don't have another failed FPS game that, you know, succeeds and does incredible in the beginning and then just withers off, you know, about half a year down the line.